One day we got a small little gear drop and I went up into the locker room and saw that we got some stuff and come down to practice, and I'm like, guys, we got toques. And everyone looked at me like, what is this girl talking about? But I had no idea that was just a Canadian word. It's like the knit, like a beanie, basically, like the knitted winter hats. We call those toques. Okay. I was obviously had a lot of nerves going into that, and that's something that I've struggled with in the past, just pre-race anxiety and things like that, and learned how to manage. Like, she changed the event for everybody. She made it a sprint event where it wasn't before, and we saw the world record drop by seconds within a matter of years.
Welcome, Savannah, to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. So excited. Honored to be one of your first guests.
Yes, first guest. So excited. Okay, we're going to be talking about your experience at Michigan, but I want to go back to where it all started. Tell me what it was like being from Borden, Canada.
Yeah, so Borden's a little bit interesting in the fact that it's so small. So there's only about 300 people in the whole town. So very, very tiny. Everyone is always knowing what everyone else is up to, which can be a blessing and a curse. For me, I definitely appreciated because I felt like I had 300 supporters at all times. And I think that was so helpful growing up, for sure.
So what first got you into track? We talk a lot about, sports being in a hot spot, but is track a hot spot in Borden? What brought you into this world?
Yeah, so in Borden, because it's so small, usually everyone kind of does every single sport just so that we can have enough people for a team, hopefully. And growing up, my brother, he's 5 years older than me. I kind of just wanted to do whatever he was doing. So he did volleyball, so I did volleyball. He did track, so I did track. And he ended up winning or getting third at provincials one year in discus. And so I said, oh, this is pretty cool. He's pretty good at this. I want to try it out. So I did it for the school at first. But in Canada, track isn't exactly as competitive in high school as it is in the States. And so in order to be actually competitive, you have to join a club team. And so I went to one summer camp and really enjoyed it and ended up getting selected to go to nationals for Team Saskatchewan. And then that's when I ended up joining a club team and actually getting competitive with it.
So at what point did you realize that you were like, I'm really good at this?
Yeah, it actually took a while. Honestly, I think a lot of people noticed it before I did myself. But I would say the moment when it finally clicked was one year I was competing at nationals. It was under 18 nationals, and I did the 80-meter hurdles, the 400-meter hurdles, and I think it was the 300, and I ended up winning all of the events, and I got athlete of the meet as well, and that was when it kind of clicked. Like, I think when I was coming from such a small town, I always knew I was good for that town, but felt like it was such a small pool to choose from. So I always felt like that didn't mean much. And even Saskatchewan is one of the smaller provinces. So I felt like at every level it was like, oh yeah, like I'm good for where I come from, but what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? And so then when I started actually winning national championships and things like that, that's when it finally started to click that, oh, like I'm just good, period. Not good for Borden or good for Saskatchewan, but just good, I guess.
I love that. So when did Michigan come into the picture?
Yeah, so my junior year of high school was COVID, so it was a little bit difficult for the recruiting process and everything. And my coach at the time was actually the one who encouraged me to look at schools in the States, and I had never heard of the NCAA before. Like, I had no idea what it meant, what I was doing, and so I ended up sending a couple emails to a couple of different schools, not really knowing about Michigan or the legacy at Michigan or anything like that, and the coach at Michigan just responded to me and offered me a spot and a scholarship, and I was just thankful for that, and I said, you know what, like, let's do it, I guess.
So what is it like being from Canada, coming to the States? What were the culture shocks, adjustments? What did you feel? Like, how did you go about that transition?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I knew nothing about the NCAA, had never even heard about it before. I was almost like living under a rock. And so I come here, I don't know, they're talking about conference championship and Big Ten and the Block M and all of this stuff that I'm, as if I'm supposed to know what it means. And I just had no idea. So it was definitely a learning curve. I learned that there's a couple of Canadian words that Americans have no idea what they mean.
Okay, can you spill those?
So one day we got a small little gear drop, and I went up into the locker room and saw that we got some stuff and come down to practice, and I'm like, guys, we got toques, and everyone looked at me like, what is this girl talking about? But I had no idea that was just a Canadian word. It's like like a beanie, basically, like the knitted winter hat. So we call those toques.
Okay.
And I just thought that was a regular term, and turns out it's not. Turns out I say a couple words a little bit funny. I say my A's a little bit funny.
Can you give us a word?
So when I say bagel, I think people say that's really weird. When I say sorry, obviously that comes out there.
Do you say A?
I do. So I kind of say it like A. Like,
okay.
My sentence, like question mark, like A.
Yeah.
But I think that's toned down in the last couple of years. And sometimes it's funny, I go home and my parents tell me I sound American. No idea what that means, but apparently I'm switching to American culture a little bit more.
Yeah, that's funny. My next question was going to be, what do you think people don't understand about being Canadian? Yeah. But is there anything else besides the way you say things?
The other thing is not everybody is from Toronto, and not everybody's from Ontario.
Yes.
There's a lot more of Canada that is outside of Ontario and Toronto, and people don't know what Saskatchewan is. They have no idea, even though it's a whole province.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that they don't really understand Canadian geography as much as we would understand American geography.
I was just talking to this with someone else, and I don't realize how big Canada is. We were just saying how the Stanley Cup last year, they're flying back and forth, and how long does it take you to get home from here?
Yeah, so it probably takes me about 45 minutes to fly to Toronto. There's no direct flights, and then it's about 3.5 hours to fly to Saskatoon from there, and then it's about an hour, 45-minute drive.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to get into your track experience here. Your freshman year,
yes,
you competed, but you weren't necessarily on the podium in the way that you are now. Now you've broken so many records. What changed for you? Like, what was the difference between your freshman year to what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I think freshman year is always a bit of a shock for everybody coming in, especially if you're international and trying to just acclimate to a completely new country. And even though Canada's right there, I think Saskatchewan's a little bit more farther removed from the U.S. than some place like Toronto is. And so there was definitely a big adjustment there. And because I was being recruited during COVID, I never got a visit or anything. So the first time I stepped into Michigan was when I was moving into my dorm room. So it was definitely a big adjustment, being away from family and things like that. And yeah, I competed my freshman year, but it wasn't what I wanted. And I was always super competitive all throughout high school. And so it was definitely a shock. And I didn't really know what the issue was or what was going wrong. And I ended up being the first person out of the finals, both indoor and outdoor. So that was definitely a hit. And then I ended up going to the World Under-20 Championships the summer after my freshman year, summer before and after my freshman year. And so the summer before my freshman year, I got third. I got bronze at the World Championships. And then the summer after my freshman year, I fell in the prelims and didn't even make it to the semifinal. Wow. So it was a huge shock. And then going into my sophomore year, I think most of the shift came mentally, and I just decided to show up every single day for practice and stop making any sort of excuses for myself. And I could say, oh, well, the Big Ten conference was really fast, that's why I didn't make a final, or I fell, that's why I didn't make the semifinal. But, at the end of the day, all of these things are within my control every single day. And so I decided to just show up as best as I could every single practice, every single competition. I also had a coaching change my sophomore year because my old coach retired. And so that definitely had an impact on things. And yeah, it picked up from there. And I still, to this day, don't really know what exactly I changed to make such a drastic change from my freshman to my sophomore year, but whatever it is, I'm thankful for it, of course.
Well, the mental game is so big, and you don't realize until you come and you play the Division I sport, and it's so different than what you grew up doing. I know you have that mental work that you had to do. Were you training any differently? Was there any physical difference? Were you in the weight room putting up more weight? Was there anything like that you could put a grasp on that you remember?
Yeah, so I would say I'm definitely more of a 200, 400 runner and not so much like a 400, 800 runner. And I think my freshman year, my coach really tried to kind of turned me into a 600 runner indoors. So I ran a lot of those, and that was the farthest I'd ever ran. I still can't believe that I did that. I couldn't imagine going back to that today. But then my coach, my sophomore year, we made the switch to do a lot more speed work, and I think that just really worked for me better and for myself, and everyone's different, of course, and so it's just up to working with your coach to figure out what works for you specifically. And I think we were able to do that sophomore year, and I was able to figure out myself and my own body a little bit better and figure out what worked for me.
I love that. So let's talk about the Olympics. You have blown up in so many different areas of your sport. What was it like being at this most recent Olympics and representing Canada?
Yeah, it was so special. That was my 4th time representing Canada and my 2nd time representing Canada on a senior team. And so it's always special when I get to represent, especially because I don't spend much time in Canada anymore, but I'm still so proud to be from there, and I'm so proud to be Canadian. And so every time I get to put on the jersey, even though it's red, I still get so excited to represent, and it always means so much to me, especially because there's not many athletes and many women from Saskatchewan who are competing in track and field or who are competing at the Olympics in general, just because it is one of the smaller provinces. And so it feels special to be able to represent all the little girls in Saskatchewan as well, because I know that when I was little and watching, you know, I always wanted to see myself in the athletes that I saw. And so I hope that some small town girls from Saskatchewan are able to watch and see themselves in me. And I think that that's so special.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have any standout memories from the games? Did you try the viral chocolate muffins? I need to know.
I did try the chocolate muffin, and it was actually the day in between the semifinal and the final was my birthday. And so I turned 21, and I decided that for my birthday cake, I would try the chocolate muffin.
Did you put a candle in it?
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't. But it was good. It was really good.
Okay, how would you rate it?
Oh, my goodness.
Out of a 10.
Okay, so I think the rating's a little bit skewed because at that point, I, hadn't had sugar for so long. I'd been eating so healthy leading up to it. So on that day, it was probably a 9.
Okay.
Looking back now, it's probably like a 7, 6.5. It was a pretty standard muffin, but I think the fact that we were so healthy leading up to it and at the training camps and in the village in general, and then the fact that you're able to just get a hit of sugar just made it so much better.
That's amazing. How was the village? What was that like?
Yeah, it was really cool. It honestly just felt like adult summer camp. If I had to compare it to anything, it was really, really cool. And honestly, I'm such good friends with so many girls on the team, and there were 6 of us to a unit and then 2 per room. And so it literally just felt like summer camp. Like we were just bunk mates, and it was really fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
7th place in the race. You're the first Canadian since 1996 to reach the finals in the 400. What did that moment mean to you?
That was really special. The whole goal going into the Olympics was to make the final. And so the semifinal was the scariest race of my life and the most intense race of my life. And then once I made the final and knew that I had kind of checked the box and done what I did there to do, I felt like that was the moment that I was finally able to take a deep breath and really let everything sink in and let what I had accomplished sink in. And so I was able to take a moment before and after the race where I kind of just looked up at the stadium, which was packed, sold out and so loud. Everyone was so excited for that race, especially because the world record went down in that race. And so just be able to feel the energy in there and all the fans knowing that my family was in there watching me was so important as well. And that was really just, I don't know if any other moment in my life is going to live up to that, because that was something really special.
Now that you say that, did you get the Olympic rings tattooed?
I didn't.
You didn't? Okay.
Everyone keeps telling me that I need to.
You need to.
I know I do. I just have to go get it done. But
That's awesome. And there were so many other Michigan athletes in the games. Did you see them when you were in the village?
Yeah, I actually didn't see anybody. I was pretty... you kind of just have your blinders on almost in a sense. And so I was pretty locked into what we had to do, especially because our track team didn't get to the village until the second half of the Olympics. So I wasn't there for the opening ceremonies or anything. And I think that was really good so that we were able to stay focused, and it wasn't so much just looking around at all the big names and faces and stuff. And it was more so remembering why you were there and what you wanted to accomplish. That was helpful. But as a result, I feel like I didn't really get out and explore the village or see as many faces as I would have.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of record-breaking races, we have to break this down because I'm obsessed with this race. I've watched it so many times. 52.46 in the 400 at NCAAs. You're the 9th fastest hurdler of all time. Like, what was your mindset? How do you feel? Like, can we talk about this?
Honestly, I still don't think it's sunk in. And I don't know if it ever will. Like, those numbers, every time I hear someone say that, I'm like, oh, like me? That's crazy. But yeah, it was an insane race. And I was obviously had a lot of nerves going into that. And that's something that I've struggled with in the past, just pre-race anxiety and things like that, and learned how to manage. But going into that race, especially because it was my last time representing Michigan, I really wanted to go out with a bang. And that had been my goal all season. So I knew what the goal was, and I knew that it was within reach. I just had to go out and get it and just not be scared.
Yeah. So talk me through the final stretch. It wasn't even close. I watched it and I was like, this is just, it's not fair. And you're hurdling the entire time. It's not close. Walk me through what's going through your head as you approach the final stretch and cross the line.
Yeah, so as I'm coming down the home stretch, I hear everybody cheer so loud. It was like a surge. Everyone just started cheering out of nowhere. And so I didn't know if that meant that I was running really fast or if that meant that someone was coming up
close behind
me. And so I had no idea what was going on because the year previous to that, I was in the lead until the last hurdle, and then someone passed me who I didn't even see, like in the last 30 meters. And so I was so terrified that that was going to happen again that I just thought, okay, you have to keep going, like it's not over until you cross the line. And so I was terrified, honestly. It was pretty scary. And then once I crossed the line and I knew that I won, so that was already so exciting, but I also knew that the record was within reach. So there was a second where I'm just waiting to see the time come up on the board, and then when I finally saw the time, that's when I finally celebrated and like took a breath and put my hands over my face and did whatever I did, and that was when it really sunk in.
Yeah. Okay, I also want to talk about this ESPN interview. You, as soon as you cross the finish line, you have cameras in your face, a reporter coming up to you and asking you questions. How are you able to formulate sentences at that point? Like, you were so well-spoken. Talk about that.
I appreciate that because I honestly have no idea what I said in that interview. Like, it's gone out of my mind. I think I was delirious at that time, and I still haven't watched it back because I struggle to watch back my post-race interviews because I'm so out of breath and just my voice sounds so different and things like that. But yeah, no, it's definitely, I don't know what I'm saying during that time. I just hope that it comes out somewhat coherent and makes some sort of sense.
Yeah,
but,
it was a good interview, but I was like, I have to ask her this. Okay, so after the race too, you immediately go hug and congratulate the other people from the other schools. What's that dynamic like? Because it is an individual sport. What is it like? Do you know these girls? Walk me through that.
Yeah, so it's a small community in track and field, especially once you get to higher and higher levels. And so we definitely all know each other. And if we haven't talked to each other directly, we know of each other for sure. Because in track and field, everyone is always stalking everyone's times. And so you're always in the know with who absolutely everybody is. And so we're all friendly all the time. And then I think the only time we're not friendly is when we're on the line and we want to beat each other. But, you know, genuinely, like, I think all of my competitors are such great women and such great people. And so I wish the best for them. And even though I want to beat them, I still, like, will always wish the best for them for sure.
Yeah. So breaking that record, did you look up to Sydney? What was that like? You talked about you knowing that it was in reach, but what was that like to break her record?
Yeah. I mean, I think every female track and field athlete, or every track athlete in general, looks up to Sydney in some capacity just because she is so amazing and she has accomplished such amazing things. And especially in the 400 hurdles, I genuinely think she changed the event for everybody. She made it a sprint event where it wasn't before, and we saw the world record drop by seconds within a matter of years. And she definitely changed the competitive level of the event. And so I just have to give her as many props as possible whenever I can, because if it weren't for her to pave the way first, I don't think that any of us would be doing what we're doing today. And so I think that's so special. And yeah, I definitely look up to her. I mean, she has been achieving such great things, especially from such a young age. Like, she went to her first Olympics when she was in high school. And so I think that she's an inspiration for so many people. And it feels very humbling to have my name even in the same conversations as her, because I would have never imagined that we would have our name in the same conversation.
And now it's above her.
Yeah.
Okay. NIL. Mm-hmm. You started college in the beginning of this NIL era. Mm-hmm. What has NIL looked like for you, not only as a Michigan student athlete? Let's just talk about being Canadian, period. What is NIL like for you?
Yeah, so it's difficult, especially in the first few years when people were just trying to figure out what exactly NIL was and how it worked in general. And then you throw being an international student athlete into that mix, and it got really complicated really quickly. So for the first 3.5 years of college, I was just told, basically just don't do it.
Did you feel that there were any challenges as a female in the NIL space? Have you felt that at all?
Yeah, I have for sure. And even if I haven't felt it directly, just seeing what some of my teammates have went through with that, I think that there's a lot less money available for female student athletes than there is for males. And also just even marketing yourself as a female athlete, I think, is a little bit harder than as a male athlete sometimes. And I think that's just the fact that, football and Michigan basketball, and even Michigan hockey, they have such great reputations and such a huge fan base that I think doesn't always extend to all of the sports at Michigan. And I think that the women's sports do get overshadowed quite a bit. And I think that it's difficult for female student athletes at Michigan to really get the marketing and the representation and the respect sometimes that they deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for female athletes that might be going through NIL now or in the future to own their brand, own their name? How do you promote yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super well versed in all of that, but from what I've seen, I would just say, there's nothing wrong with having your own brand and representing yourself, and have something even outside of your sport that you feel like represents you, because even if you are able to gain money during NIL while you're a student athlete, if you want to extend these things beyond college, I think that it's important to have something that you stand for that's just outside of your sport. Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's really special, and that also sets you apart from all of the other student athletes as well.
Yeah. Okay, I want to move on and talk about the Bowerman. Mm-hmm. This is the Heisman of track and field. Mm-hmm. You're the first female from the Big Ten to ever be named a finalist. How special is that?
Yeah, that's super special, super amazing. This wasn't even in the realm of possibilities for this year that I had envisioned for myself. And so it really came as a surprise, especially because I didn't make a single watch. The watch list comes out every month or every few months, and I didn't make a single watch list throughout the entire season. And then all of a sudden I'm a semifinalist and then a finalist. And it was a surprise for me and a shock for me, but also kind of like a aha moment.
That's me.
You should have been paying attention. Yeah. So that was kind of how I felt about it.
I love that. Mm-hmm. And I saw the video of you calling your family. Mm-hmm. What was that moment like?
Yeah, that's special. Family means so much to me. Every time, my parents have been so supportive throughout this all, and my brother as well, and they come to every meet that they possibly can come to, and every time I know that they're at the track, I know they're going to be in the same exact spot above the finish line, and I look for them, and sometimes I kind of freak out if I can't find them at first, but then as soon as they're always waving to me because I always know that I'm looking for them, and so I always wave to them before my race, and I know that it's just a reminder that, these are the people that I run for, and I do this for my family, and so that they'll be proud of me and to represent them as best as I can. And they just mean so much to me after races and every single time. They're my biggest cheerleaders 100% of the time. And so every time I have any small, it doesn't matter how small the accomplishment is, they're always in my corner cheering as loud as possible.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. And the ceremony's in December, so will they be traveling with you?
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. And where is that at?
It's in Dallas, I believe.
That'll be awesome. Yes. Okay, what's next? You're going to World Championships. Mm-hmm. Do you leave tomorrow?
No, so I leave tomorrow for Canadian Nationals.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to be doing the flat 400 there. And
Okay.
So, yeah, I have a couple more competitions leading up to Worlds.
Okay.
And then Worlds is in mid-September, so we have some time to prepare still, which it makes for a very long season. But honestly, I think after NCAA's was finished, I was ready for a bit of a break, and I think that this timeline is really good, and I'm excited to see what can happen at Worlds.
Are you training for LA in 28?
That is the plan,
Okay.
yes. So all sights are kind of on LA right now. I know for a fact that I'm going to be running for 3 more years, and then
Okay.
after the Olympics, I'll kind of reevaluate and see where I want to go after that. But that is the
Yeah.
big goal at the end of it.
Okay. I have another fun question, actually. Your strength coach told me this.
Oh, gosh.
Another record that we haven't talked about. You have the heaviest bench press by any Canadian 400-meter hurdler at Michigan.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, so out of all my records, I have to say that's the most special.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
super, super specific. I don't think it'll ever be broken
Okay.
because I don't even think another person would meet the criteria for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, something that I think Lane and I both take a lot of pride in.
Yes,
So,
I
yeah.
love that. And I saw you with him today, and he was like, you have to be sure to include this in the interview.
Yeah.
But you have all of these records, so love that that's at the top of your list. What are your long-term goals on and off of the track?
Yeah. So I just graduated off the track first. I just graduated with a degree in pre-med, but I also did my pre-PA and pre-PT requirements. And so eventually I do want to be working in the healthcare field in some capacity. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, and I'll figure that out over the next 3 years. So I'll probably end up going back to school eventually and getting a master's degree in something. So that's the long-term goal. And then for track and field, I would love to get a medal at some major championships at some point. I don't know if that'll be an Olympics or a World Championships or something, but I'm really looking forward to seeing where this can take me. And another big goal that I have is to get a medal on the 4x4 for Team Canada. I think that we have a lot of pretty young talent in Canada right now in the 400, and we always, every single time, no matter what our personal bests are throughout the year, every time we get on the line in a relay, we run so much faster than we have all season for ourselves. And once we have each other's backs and we're running for one another, I think it brings out something really special in all of us. And so I'm very excited to see where that can take us in the future as well.
Well, I'm so excited to watch everything that you're going to do in the future. But thank you so much, Savannah, for being here. You're the first guest.
Yes.
The best guest so far. So I'm so excited, but thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course.